And we're back. Okay, so having said that, let's move right on to the main segment that I wanted to cover today was a little bit of the basics when you are getting into model making. So you can see I've been right in the middle of something, so this is kind of neat. You get to see something I'm right in the middle of making. These are parts from A1144 Zaku to the actual Thunderbolt version, which has something special. It's the big gun kit, so it comes with some kind of a positron cannon that's used in the famous scenes of the manga Gundam Thunderbolt, as well as, of course, the anime. So if you've been watching last winter, Gundam Thunderbolt released as an anime, which was pretty fun. It wasn't perhaps the best Gundam series out there, but it's certainly one of the good ones. And yeah, very gritty. It's dark. It's seinen. It meets most of the requirements of what I'm looking for a seinen action anime to get into. But Gundam is a little bit cheesy. Huh? It's not the anime that wants to take itself the most seriously. When you read the manga, when you watch the show, you clearly get the impression the writers want you to enjoy yourself, and it's really not Ghost in the Shell. It's not necessarily your most serious science fiction. It's certainly science fiction adventure. You can think of it as the Star Wars of Japan. Huh? So very heavily influenced by themes, and this is very rapidly turning into a anime deconstructed talk, so I have to control my digressions. So we'll stay on the model hobbying side of the whole Gundam universe. I'll spare you my thoughts on that for now. Let's have a look at some of the techniques that were used here. So if you had a look at the original standard stock design, if you will, it actually comes in something like this, and I'm just kind of winging it here, so forgive my total lack of adequate preparation, but here we go. So as you can see, this is what the model looks like when you assemble it, and there's 3 power converters here, wherever they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be like fusion generators. Huh? So these fusion generators have been mostly painted for the most part. Okay, but as you can see, the coverage is a little bit spotty. It seems to be rubbing off where this dark, lovely dark copper has been painted. It seems to be rubbing off a little bit, and why is that? We're going to have a look at why that is. So having spoken to some of my friends who are more on the getting to the Meijin level, I would say. They're becoming model masters at this point. They've been building for over 10 years, in some cases for 30 years, and one of them recently won a number of prizes here in Montreal as part of an IPMS. That's the International the International Plastic Modeling Society, and so they have a number of classic military scale model contests that they do, I believe, once a year. And so shout out to Sean. He actually is one of the better hand painting young modelers from this area. So that's very cool. But when I was discussing this with Sean, as well as doing some of my own research on the blogs and so on, you do learn a little bit where mistakes can originate from, and so let's have a look at some of the things that I learned. So okay, here for instance we have one of the parts. This is a top part. Now what had happened is that some of the black, now you can see the coverage is quite reasonably decent. It is far from perfect, but certainly whenever the camera feels like focusing up, there you go. So you can see it's not too bad. It's obviously a little blotchy there, as is fairly typical of the sort of I'm a perfectionist, so to me this is like positively rubbish, but I can still appreciate that the coverage is quite good, the depth of the color is quite good, and if I put it under my my LED light here, which is quite bright, I can see the opacity is pretty good too, and under the incandescent, well, even more so, because these little imperfections don't show up so much under incandescent. So so what were the issues? The issue was that it wasn't primed. So I used some primer, and I'm actually really lazy. That's one of my weaknesses, I have to say, as a model. It's not that I don't like spending the extra few bucks. It's that I often just don't bother. I'll just use whatever is lying around, and also it's because I build in the middle of the night. So like most model builders, we build at night when we're not at work or with friends or what have you. So what have I gone with? I've gone with Mr. Primer Surfacer 1000, and I want to give a shout out to my friends at Udisco Hobbies. There's their logo right there. To Dorn, to Patrick as well, and of course to Lion, and let's not forget Glenn. So having said that, they actually helped me choose the right type of primer. Now you're going to notice that Mr. Hobbies Mr. Primer Surfacer is a 1000 grit surfacer. So what that means is that the finish that you will get on the primed piece is going to be more or less that of your classical 1000 grit automotive sandpaper. Okay, so this is fairly fine. It's something you'd use as a first sanding if you are going to sand your parts. I don't sand all my gunpla parts. I can't be bothered, frankly. They're very complex in terms of their geometry. Some builders do like to do that. I like to call that torture grade. It's when you're taking the perfectionism to some kind of an unhealthy place, and you're doing all the things, and you don't have to do that, though. I don't. I sand the parts that I think need to be smoothed out. Sometimes I like a rough texture, and I'm going to show you how to achieve that also. So Mr. Surface Primer will give you a very smooth painted texture, and a good example that I can show you is these hands here. Actually, that's not a very good example. These were done in the rougher automotive grade product which I've used, and I can show you a nice example of that right here. Okay, so the color that you're looking at right now is actually a very nice dark bronze, I believe, and Tamiya metallic bronze, and I don't know how well the camera is going to pick this up. Let's see if it decides to cooperate. There we go. So as you can see, there are some sort of bumps on the surface. How well is this going to pick it up? All right, here we go. Good thing my fingernails are clean, huh? Yeah, now you can see the imperfections in my fingernails, but that's not really what we're interested in. So actually, the way it works is that I'm really pleased with these results. If you go for a really coarse particle-sized automotive primer like a Krylon, okay, the cool effect that you're going to get, perhaps it'll show up better if I show you using this part. Oh, I love the effect that it's given on this part right here. Maybe that'll be a good example that I can show you. I hope so. Keep cutting myself off. So, do you see what's going on here? Let's. Where's the camera? I guess over here. Yeah. Now you can see this is the first coat of silver, okay, on a targeting laser. So this is a sort of a laser rifle, and I don't know if you can really see that very well, but you'll notice that the surface of it is almost like a kind of cast steel, okay, which is kind of interesting because the plastic doesn't have that, almost like a fresh snowfall, right, where it's not perfectly. There's like millions of little points of particles that are making up this nice. Have you ever looked at a cast piece of aluminium? It's not perfectly smooth. It has like a little bit of natural roughness of the metal casting. I really like that effect, and I discovered, thanks to Jonathan actually, that if you use a Krylon white primer, you will have exactly that effect, which is really cool actually, because Krylon is inexpensive. So if you're going for a coarse effect, you want to use that, and that's what I've used here and here. This is not. Now we're moving away from the Tamiya stuff. We're looking at the Mr. Color effect. This is the same hand sort of glove cover part right here. Let's have a look at that. See if we can zoom in on that. There you go. So you can tell that the color is not quite the same, the finish is not quite the same, and the overall effect is quite different. So definitely that's because the metal flake that they use in Mr. Hobby paint products is a lot more fine. You're going to get a finer grain, and so you have a much more subtle effect. And the other thing is that just in general, the for lack of a better word, the homogeneousness of the paint like flow and everything is a lot more smooth. It's a lot easier to work with. And interestingly enough, it seems to have a smoothing effect too. It's maybe it's the color. It's because it's a darker color. But certainly, what ends up happening is that if you are painting on a slightly bumpier surface, well, what happens with the Mr. Color is it likes to somehow self-level even better than Tamiya, which I was surprised on. In fact, I was hoping to retain some of that coarseness and some of that natural casting, but it smooths it out a little bit, which is all right. It's one of the little details that probably no one notices, but anyway. And so now you have the last one, which is a dark copper. So we did dark bronze. This is metallic gray, but that's a Mr. Color. This is a Tamiya, and now this is a Tamiya enamel. So we're using 3 different kind of paints here, guys. This is acrylic. This is lacquer by Mr. Hobby. This is enamel. Okay, and what's really nice about the enamel, it has a wonderfully lustrous sort of effect. Let's see if we can show that to you. It's quite smooth, right? When you bring it really, really close up to the camera, then you start to maybe, well, depending on how good its focus is, you can sort of see what's going on. So this came out quite well. I mean, to the naked eye, you can still see a few little imperfections. So for another coat, that's totally fine. And so these have all been primed. They've all been primed and then painted. So that's one of the things that I've done with this stuff. So I think I've covered 3 different kinds of paints. They're metallic. And the importance of priming and the different kind of effects you can have depending on the combination of the paint chemistry that you're using and the primer. Alright, now I didn't use Mr. Surfacer for this one, I used for this one, and you can see when I held that part up to the camera, I'll show it to you again, it's a lot smoother, right? You don't have all of those little components. Maybe it'll show better against the LED lamp that I have here. Perhaps we can do that. Oh, it likes this one better. There you go. So you see, it's not perfectly smooth. You've still got some orange peel, which is interesting. Certainly makes the case for well, 1,000 or well, more like 2,000 grit sandpaper, which will sort of wipe down that orange peel, eliminate all the high points in the paint, give you a wonderful smooth surface. If you're really, really into that, you know, Ryan's a bit of a fan of all this perfectionism, but there you have it. So Mr. Surfacer 1000 grit, it's sort of like the surface of 1000 grit sandpaper, and then of course if you go with a automotive primer, you're going to get a nice coarser look. It really depends what the application is, what you're working on. If you're painting a model car engine, for example, you may want that cast look, right? You might want it to look a little bit rougher if you're making a model of farm equipment, for example, or a heavy lifter or something, right? Like a, I don't know, binary load lifter from Star Wars, perhaps, or maybe a mobile worker from Gundam The Origin. That might be a really beautiful effect for you. So I'm going to break the video here once again, guys, so that I don't continue to bore you out of your skulls, and we'll pick this up again in a few moments. Stay frosty.